Why don't we get started? So welcome to the Lean Lab Customer Collaboration Studio. What we'll be talking about in the next 1.5 hours or so is why do we often fail with our product innovations, services, and new digital innovations. Beyond why we fail, of course, we're all interested to know what we can do about the failure. How can we change? How can we become more successful with our product innovations, with our digital strategies, and so on. And then towards halfway, the presentation will focus on customer labs. My colleague Petri, who I'll introduce in a minute, will talk about their experiences working with customers very closely using customer labs. And then towards the end of the presentation, we'll share some tips, and when we have a Q&A session at the very end of the webinar session. So welcome everyone from the stream as well. And I'd like to introduce Petri here. Petri is the CEO of a fast-growing e-grocery business in Finland, a company called Kauppahalli 24. And they've of course experienced super growth over the years, and particularly now with the pandemic, you've had a stellar growth as everyone is pivoting and starting to shop online, and that's something that we can see on the e-grocery shopping behaviors as well. It must have been quite a ride because you joined just about when everything started with the pandemic.
Yeah, thanks Ville, and nice to be here, and very nice to see you all also in the stream. It was really a kickstart. I started about in a beginning of May 2020 as a CEO, and
so
we were just in the middle of very very strong growth.
Yes, and it was just a few months in the pandemic, so when you took the helm
1 month
of the company.
Yeah,
very good. And I'm your host today. So my name is Ville Osterlund. I have about 20 years experience in working with digital innovations, service innovations, mostly in the Nordics, in the UK, and in Asia over the years. So I've helped a number of brands, startups and scale-ups, blue chips, to launch new services to the market and listen and collaborate with customers or potential users. I myself run a company called Lean Lab, which is part of a bigger company called Digitalist Group, which is a creative consultancy. And Lean Lab itself is a customer collaboration SaaS platform business, and we've been running in incubation within Digitalist for several years, and now we launched fresh our own operations a few months ago. Combined as a group, we have about 200 people working across several sectors, looking at brand design, customer experience, and we have 3 main studios. So one over here in Helsinki, one over in Stockholm in Sweden, and then we had a third one in North America in Vancouver. Right, now we got the introductions out of the way. Let's start with the actual topic. Why do we fail? Which is a huge challenge. If you do a Google search and you look at the information on the web, the rule of thumb is that about 80% of the product launches actually end up failing. And as I studied into this topic a little bit further, I found from the Harvard Business Review that there are about 40 ways you can fail, you can bomb your product launch or service launch. In the context of this webinar, I'm particularly interested in the reasons that are attributable to not listening or not talking to consumers. And I've actually looked at the 40 ways and put them together so that I could see how many of those 40 ways are to do with lack of consumer collaboration. And guess what? There is about 35% of those 40 reasons that are to do with no consumer collaboration, very little or none at all. So let's look at briefly, not all of the reasons, we don't have time for that today, but let's start looking at some of the reasons why we might fail with new service innovation launches. If you think about the initial concept phase, which is like all to do with understanding the problem and figuring out the product solution fit to the market, it's a staggering truth that probably about 50 or 60% of the companies do very little or no consumer testing with the actual concept phase at all. And of course, if the idea that you're putting together is internally conceived and it's never tested with consumers, then you have very high chances of failing at launch. One of the other reasons on the concept phase is that you actually haven't identified what your target market is, or it's not clear enough. So you haven't done enough experimental testing with the potential users. And thereby you also have unclear key advantages that you're unable to communicate clearly, or you think internally that those are really the key advantages for the product or for the service, but when consumers are asked, they actually have a totally different view. Let's take an example here. Many of us know Segway, which was launched, I think it was launched back in 2000, and it was launched with a big bang. But if we look at the overall track record for Segway and for those products that you can see there on the picture, they ended up selling only about 140,000 units, and actually 2 years ago they decided to discontinue the production of those products. And one of the reasons was that it was actually very highly priced to reach the consumer mass market, which is another reason for failing, and also that they actually hadn't understood what the actual market was. So instead of selling to consumer market, they actually end up selling to professionals, like this police officer in Stockholm. So that's kind of where they had moderate success. But the initial plan to kind of take over the world, put everyone on the balancing wheels, wasn't consumer tested, and it never worked. Moving on, so once you kind of over the pre-phase of discovering and understanding what your product solution fit might be, then you move on to the launch phase. And again, I looked at the 40 reasons why companies are failing, and we're seeing that a lot of those reasons are again to do with not collaborating with consumers or customers. So again, in the launch phase, you're failing to do your alpha tests, you are not doing a beta tests, so you're not inviting the users to look at the product or experience the product, and you just go straight to launch. And then another good reason why product launches might fail is that the actual ad campaign that you're putting together is actually not working because it's untested and it's ineffective. Over the 20 odd years that I've been working as a consultant in this business, I've had a number of calls from ad agencies, from brands that have bombed their campaign, and they're now calling me after the campaign trying to figure out what went wrong. So it's a totally wrong way of going about it. Do the pre-test, do your work up front, and then you're more likely to succeed. There is actually research on the likelihood to succeed on the discovery phase. So if you spend about 5% of your development budget on consumer collaboration, consumer understanding, your chances of successfully launching will increase about 2/3. So there's a very strong argument to spend a little bit of extra money and maybe time and kind of route that into the consumer testing, because that will dramatically increase your chances of success. We talked about pricing. You can get the pricing wrong in a number of ways, like the Segway did with the too high pricing. Then of course, if the price tag is too low, then it might not be attractive product or service for a lot of consumers. So again, you can do a lot of consumer testing. What I would recommend you to do, particularly if you're working with, and who is not today working with consumers that are consuming and buying products online is you can do digital experiments with your pricing strategies. So you can try different price points, offer the service that is still in an experimental phase, and you can see what attraction you get at different price points. So that's a very good way of going about with your pricing strategy, because then you can actually see what the natural demand for your service is and at what price range. Right, we looked at the number of ways that you can fail, but I think we're all more interested in how can you actually succeed? How can you optimize or limit your risk so that your chances of actually succeeding what you're doing will increase? Let's go on to talk about lean startup and the whole kind of idea and thinking behind this. I'm not sure if you read this book, but I do recommend it. It's something for everyone to read. Even if you're not in startup, it's still valid for bigger blue chips. I think there is a version out there which is a sort of a startup for corporates. This is all about getting the users involved in the process and learning as you go through the creative process, doing a number of experiments quickly and iteratively throughout that creative process. And as you experiment and collect feedback, you start optimizing your success for any product or service launch. How do companies then do this sort of transformation then? And let me take one example. We had a company called MTV. They're working in the media sector over here in Finland, and they have about 4 million weekly reach. So it's about 80% reach over the entire population here. And essentially they do free-to-air television. They were actually the first commercial television back in the 80s when they launched. And they also have the subscription service called Seymour that they are offering. And they started some years ago, they started a transformation on towards kind of getting lean and getting the users involved in their own creative process as they are designing the digital experiences for their consumers. So let's take some of those learnings from their transformation journey. This is actually a recording that is available on the Lean Lab website. So if you like to see the original recording presented by MTV, you can go and have a look at that recording. But let's just take some of the examples from this case study. So what they had is they had an agile development team, looking at the digital products and services. So they're developing those. And what they need is that they're constantly iterating, the UX and improving the customer experience, the digital customer experience. And the old ways of conducting research and collecting NPS scores and these sort of things were just too slow and expensive. They would get a research agency, then they would start the recruitment, which was painful itself. Then they would do all sorts of planning, and then they would actually get the groups together, and then they would get the results, and someone would analyze. And quite quickly, 6 to 8 weeks have passed before they have any access to data. And anybody working in the agile kind of service software development knows that 6 to 8 weeks is a heck of a long period to be waiting for results. So what this sort of led into is that the agile teams weren't using that much consumer collaboration, because the access to consumers was basically blocked, and it was too slow and too expensive. So they started this transformation journey as a company within their CX and UX teams to become more agile and become more iterative in the ways they connect with their end users. And essentially, it came down to this build, measure, learn cycle that you can see in the book. They have a slightly different take on this, but essentially it's all about measuring and understanding where you are. So they build a specific CX score which is a sort of a combination of NPS, customer effort score, and customer satisfaction score, so they could actually look at how difficult, how easy it's to get through the service on the website. So that was the key for them to understand, you know, what's working, what's broken, sort of thing. Then they also built kind of like a data hub where they would crunch all the data. So they would collect the CX score, they would have you know, call centers and customer service data going into that same data pool, and then they would use AI to analyze the results and understand, you know, what's going on in the background, what people like, what is the sentiment with the services and products and so on. And once they have the lay of the land, then the missing piece was then, of course, to understand why things are going wrong and what you can do about it. So how to do it, how to make that change. And that's where they introduced customer labs to kind of improve the service. So when they would go another cycle of customer experience score, they would be actually able to see whether they are making an impact on the experience or not. And this was really successful flow that they were able to establish within their UX and design team. And the results are pretty staggering. So this whole approach led that they are now 5 times more likely to test ideas with consumers, which is a huge transition from the old ways. Then they're also getting the results 4 times faster because they are working with customers and with a customer lab. So they can quickly take the results back to their agile team within days, with even the same day if required. So they don't have to wait for weeks anymore. And they've also experienced, over time, they've experienced a steady increase in their CX score. So it's clearly working. And from the revenue point of view, it's also helping them to create more revenues. One of their business models is, of course, to bring users onto their portals and try to make users to spend more time there. And they have been able to increase the stickiness of their content, which then leads to increased revenues through their advertising partners. So these transitions are available to all companies. The media company MTV has done it. Many others have done it as well. Now, let's focus on the customer labs, which, as you've seen in the triangle there, was the key corner, how MTV and many other companies are actually improving their services and bringing new better experiences. So what are those customer labs? Let's start with a sort of a theoretical framework here. Customer labs are any digital collaborative spaces. Essentially, you know, you could call a customer lab maybe your LinkedIn website where you might invite customers, or a Facebook website where you have a small group of customers you're collaborating with. The key point is that they're not just surveys that you send out to people. There's a truly collaborative, so you're talking to customers or talking with customers, and there is a continuous dialogue with the group of customers. And the other kind of conceptual thing is customer labs are probably about 100 to 1,000 or 1,500 customers. So when you're building customer labs, you're not building them for everyone, unlike you might send out an NPS survey to anyone that have ever interacted with your service. Customer labs are bespoke. They are VIP, sort of special kind of rooms where you invite select group of customers to take part on that development journey with your team. Another conceptual thing is customer labs are focusing on what's next. They are future driven. You're looking at how you can improve services, and you're not so much focused in what happened yesterday or not measuring the last experience. So customer labs is all about improving your game and coming better at it. And the last thing is when you truly get customer labs working, it's an ongoing exercise. Don't think it as a project, as a one-off exercise that you do when you have a problem. It's an ongoing work that you need to be doing in your business, whether you are in a digital team or customer experience team, or if you're working with a number of innovations. What Customer Labs enables companies to achieve is constant learning loop, because you're connected to your customers. You can talk to them anytime, you can ask a few questions, you can invite them into a chat room, you can ask them to share photos or short videos about their lives. So you're always connected to your customer base. So you're just learning much faster about your customers, when you're working with Customer Labs. And if you think about the creative process, it also means that you're left with less unanswered questions when you actually launch your product, because you can test your product all the way along the whole process, from the pre-phase to actual launch phase and beyond launch phase. And what this just means, it just means that you can be smart about how you spend your money. You can then focus on the features and the elements that really add customer value, and you can really bring customers on top of that, onto that decision-making table when you're making calls on where you spend your money. A final thing about Customer Labs is they are massively successful with the actual participants, so with your customers. We've done a regular study with our Customer Labs of the brands that are working with Lean Lab, and we are finding that about 90% of the customers that have been part of these Customer Lab activities want to take part in further activities on those labs. So customers want it. It's just about you enabling customers to have a voice with you and with your development teams. Well, who's doing it? There's a lot of Nordic brands that are already out there doing it. I'm not going to go into every single example here, but Finnair, they've been one of the front runners in Customer Lab activity over here in the Nordics. They've been running their Customer Lab for about 3.5, 4 years. And what they started with was kind of looking at the overall customer journeys and inviting their busy business passengers, business travelers, they're kind of inviting them to be part of that journey to develop those different touch points, looking at how to get to the airport, looking at lounge experiences, looking at the seats, looking at the onboard service, and so on. And then from there, they expanded the remit for Customer Labs. So they actually been using Customer Labs for new innovations as well, looking at new revenue streams. They've been beta testing new ideas there. And equally, they've been using it for developing their loyalty program. And another example, a Nordic brand, Nordea Life, so selling life assurance products. They've recently, a couple of years ago, they launched a product called My Life Go, which essentially is a service which makes you to wear a kind of like a wearable wristband, which gives you health metrics, and then against the kind of activity that you do and the wristband, you get differently priced life insurance products. And of course, that's a new area for the Nordea Life, so they wanted to build a customer lab around that to understand what goes through customer minds as they are going through the experience, buying the product and then start using it. Then beyond Nordics, there are hundreds and hundreds of examples. You can search them on Google if you like. Mercedes-Benz, for example, they started working with Customer Labs many years ago when they realized that they need to do something about the Generation Y, so essentially folks between 25 and 40, because they want to be seen as an engaging brand for that future audience that are very likely to buy a car further down the line. So they've been using the Customer Labs to develop a very close relationship with Generation Y, and of course understand what that means to their brand and to their communications. Procter & Gamble, I wanted to mention, there's a lot of research, a lot of scientific research available on Procter & Gamble. It's a little bit odd one out, or kind of like a step outside from the Customer Lab, but I just wanted to kind of give you guys a bit of food for thought. Procter & Gamble is using a lab type activity to actually engage their network of innovators. So they have about 7,000 people working in their R&D and innovation department, and they factored in that in the world there's probably about 1.5 million innovators out there that could actually help them with new products. And about 2010, thereabouts, they started changing their strategy and started opening up to kind of open innovations. They started to invite people outside Procter & Gamble to take part in their innovation journeys. And it's staggering to see what numbers they're coming up with. You know, a huge percentage, you know, I think it's about 40% of the product launches are actually not, well, they're proudly taken elsewhere from that community. They've been able to decrease the R&D costs because they are getting ideas elsewhere, and the ideas are simply better and more thought through. And they're getting new ideas, about 20 per day, about 4,000 in a year. And they have a community running in Japanese, I think in German, in English, so in several languages. So everyone in the world who is innovating in their line of business can take part of that journey and share their ideas with Procter & Gamble. Right, let me pass on to my colleague Petri here, because you have an exciting story to share. As you outlined, you're working in the e-grocery business that is growing very rapidly in the Nordics, as customers are pivoting and changing their shopping habits, and you've taken the helm of the company about 2 years ago, right about when the pandemic started. So I'm super excited to hear your story and how the customers are connecting with your company, and what have you done over the last 2 years or so as you've been with the business. But before I pass on, maybe you can quickly, before you go into talking about customer labs, maybe you can share us a little bit about the market situation and how the whole e-grocery business is looking like.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ville. Great start for this seminar, and I try to give you a picture about what we have done. It was really a jump start when we started with this pandemic phase, and also when I started as a CEO. If you are thinking about this market, there you can see, in Finland, for example, we had quite a steady growth, but we were quite a long way behind what others are doing, like in Swedish market, in Nordics countries, other ways, in Britain, of course. But 2020 was a real hype for this market. As you can see there, the main grocery players, Kesko and S Group, were doing a huge leap. We also, Kauppahalli24.fi, were growing 2.5 times against 2019, so it was a great growth years also for us. Also, if you are thinking about that we were just operating with our present areas, so we were not able to spread out in Finland like Kesko and S Group was doing. Also, other players in Finnish grocery e-com were growing very lot. But still, if you compare our market, for example, to Sweden, as you can see here also in the picture, there has been a more steady growth and big growth already for years, and also with the pandemic, it was a high growth, and the share of online grocery was already above 7%. And now I think it is in something like 5% at the moment. In Finland, we have reached 2.5% at the top. So we have still great things to do and to see in this very highly developing market.
Are you, Petri, seeing that it's now bottoming out as now it's 2 years into the pandemic? Or do you expect the kind of huge growth numbers, or that hockey stick picture that you have there, do you expect that to continue for the foreseeable future?
After 2020, a very high leap. Of course, this year it will be the growth percent will be it is not so big, but of course we see that nevertheless if growth maybe estimate is 25% growth this year compared last year, it still is growing, and then what we can see is that we have a view of that in the forthcoming years it will grow much higher. Also, of course, if you're thinking on this picture in Finland, we have a very other way in or other situation in our market. If you're thinking about that K Group and S Group has over 90% of market in online grocery. Of course, it's also a message that maybe we have not found others in the market the right ways. Of course, the Finnish grocery market is in other ways also is a bit different than in Sweden otherwise. Of course, now when Oda is coming, just launching in Finland, we are strengthening our operations. Also, others are developing fast. So I think that it will boost the whole market again.
Yes, yes.
Okay, maybe a bit about us. So really, Kauppahalli 24 is not very popular or very well known here in Finland, but actually we have operated already 10 years in a Finnish e-com business, and I have a background about 23 years in grocery and retailing, now more or less 10 years with e-com also side. And now, about a little bit less than 2 years ago, I took the helm of this Kauppahalli 24. We have been a pioneer in Finland, still in a startup phase, if you can say so, where we are actually known from our good customers, as they say, is that we have a sensible supply. It means like we have a very small wastage of the products what we are offering to our customers. We are also in our way of doing. We can also offer very small products from local suppliers from the countryside and others, which maybe is not possible if you think about our turnover a little bit over 6 million euros last year, but still. We have been also very flexible. Some says that too flexible, but I see that it's the way we as a small player, as a pioneer, as also a challenger of the market, we need to be flexible. We need to focus on the customer. And I just have read many stories about our great rival from Norway, Oda, coming up, and they are saying that anyone has not offered cheap delivery in grocery e-com in Finland. So that's why cheapest delivery actually is there. We have already for years offered cheap delivery below €4 per delivery to your home. So it's something that our rivals today cannot do. So also wanted to mention that Oda is coming. It's a good thing to this market, but actually we are already operating with the same ideas here in Finland also.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe the big thing also, if you're thinking about why and how to develop businesses, and also in grocery e-com, is listening customers. I think that when you are shaping the market and differentiating from other operators, you really need to know the customers' needs and behavior more. It's something that I have been studying already for 16, 17 years. I have been privileged to work with the companies that had been quite customer oriented and are, like Valio from dairy company, Suomen Lähikauppa, which was operating, for example, Siva chain, and K Group. For me, it has not been any obstacles or idea to not to be customer oriented. And that's the way also for small business. It's everything where you need to focus on. And that was also, of course, a quite good way to start our discussion, for example, with LeanLab. As I see, we need joint development and a continuous discussion with the customers in order to make the growth better, but also in order to make prioritizing so that you also can do some cost cutting, because of course when you are running, for example, a business like us, growth, but you need to also to understand that what are the most efficient operations that you can do with the limited resources.
So it's of course following the Eric Ries's lean principles on you know, being lean about your operation and avoiding waste in every way.
I must say I'm astonished how good team we have in Kauppahalli 24, but one thing what we didn't have so much was the customer data. We have had a lot of data, but we have not utilized it. We have not been able to collect it in a systematic way. So we have had a real lack of customer data, which also we found out, and I found out when I started. There was a long history with our company, plenty of ideas, but we were maybe not utilizing customer data so much. It's again what you were saying, Ville, that one good points in the earlier presentation. I see that when you have an excellent customer service, but still, we found out and of course learn how our customers are working. But if you don't utilize that data more also in thinking of offering, thinking of development, thinking of course how your online store look like and other ways, it's not as you should do. Also, if you're thinking about these development tasks, what was the very long list, also our staff has said to me that Petri, there is too much to do. Let's prioritize. Well, in order to prioritize, you need to have real things that give you the right insight how to prioritize, where to focus. We have been a kind of a business that a lot of speed, really speed, but maybe it's too low in real progress. And again, this is not only me saying that, this is something that also my team members have said before. Also, our customer information was quite scattered. It was spread again in our company in different teams, but we were not able to report it. We didn't have the tools, of course, because when you have a long list of things to do, the big also pandemic growth, you cannot focus. You just in development and using data so much, you just run in order to fulfill the customer orders, for example, what we did 2 years ago. So there were we standing in the edge. You can say that we had excellent customer service, but how about the data? We had plenty of development. Yes, maybe you should prioritize it, and our information was scattered. So I might say that in the beginning of this year, we were still seeing quite good growth, but over the result of this situation, we noticed that we are really in the edge of that we need to do something. We have too much things, not enough time to develop those. Also, if thinking about the rapidly changing market, you cannot just run to every directions, or you need to focus more and also have a data there how to focus. But also what we see was that, okay, shall we start the path from using the sales and customer service data, or shall we take the second phase, individual customer service. Yeah, we made a good survey in the summer of 2020, customer survey, quite a long one. We figured out that the customers really are keen to join to our story, to help us to develop and be the real challenger in the Finnish market. But was that the way to make question their study there and so on? No, I think that the next phase, continuous information gathering, was more or less in our mind. But again, we had no tool. How should we do this? Also, we actually after that see that what we really need a dialogue, a joint development, not just information, but a tool what we can use directly to more efficient development and differentiation. So we actually, with that, we skipped the levels, if you can say with Lean Lab, and created this Kauppahalli 24 developers, or in Finnish Kauppahalli 24 kehittäjät. And that was to answer the challenges we faced earlier, to focus our operations, to differentiate us, or to crystallize the differentiating measures about our against our rivals. Again, discussing, sparring, examining with our customers. And of course, at last, we see that this is a fast lane in order to give us better results in our development, because in the history, yeah, we were doing a lot of good stuff, but really wasn't going that fast.
It's also interesting to hear what you say about bringing the customers in as you were looking to prioritize things. I sometimes hear it, but not many often. But it's very true. If you have this much to do and you can only do this much, how to then pick out the elements where you focus your time? Do you do it with your gut and just make decisions, or as a CEO just tell your colleagues that this is what we need to do because I'm a strong believer in this? Or then do you actually involve your customers and get enough data to back up and make those decisions based on facts rather than gut? So it's a very strong move and bold move from you guys.
And it actually was maybe the most important thing was that of course after our long history, if you can say, 9 years and next year 10 years time in grocery e-com, we were facing the phase that we really need to speed up our development. But in order to do this, it's of course that how we could do it fast and in a more focused way, and that's why we also find quite a big must to change. This is something, we have had a good history, we have done some great things, a lot of things, but now it's a new phase. We need to catch up the rivals. They are going fast, they have plenty of resources, millions of euros to spend wherever, and we didn't.
So you just got to be smarter about
smarter, more flexible, discussing more with our great customers who really were saying that come and talk with me. I'm ready to help you. So it was easy to sell, and that's why we bring up this Kauppahalli 24 kehittäjät with the Lean Lab. We have now about 200 customers with us. We started in April, I think it was, with you guys from Lean Lab. We recruited our customers from of course, operations in store, but also with emails. And after summer, actually, we have been recruiting again more people, more customers to our developer team. And one big thing is, of course, all the way from the start, together with you from Lean Lab, that we have had regular monthly activities. Also to give to the customers a view that this really is a concrete tool, but also to us, of course, that this is a really concrete tool. Please use it in your daily work.
Yeah, I remember when we started collaborating with you guys and you started inviting your customers, and then you had a discussion board for the new customers, and they could all share why they are helping you out in the development efforts. And it was great to read those customer stories, how willing they are to put their time and effort in exchange for better experiences and services. And there's so many people
really
out there willing to help when it's done right.
And they are good stories, and also don't miss the big thing that they are also they are giving a meaning to our work. When we see that customers like so much what we are doing and like to involve, of course it's to our team member, it's a way of to bring them that I'm doing great work, I'm doing work to be remembered with our customers. It's not just I'm doing things. So it was a great thing. Again, team coordination was a big thing to do, and we created a team not only from our management team, or I actually mentioned already, or guidance all the way from the start, that this is a tool where I want the operative responsible people to be in this development team, and so we did. We had members from our teams. We are not so big company, so it was quite easy. We have about 20 people, but still small, but fast and a committed team. Also, it says to our customers and also our other team members that we are really doing this, and we are taking ideas not only from the small management team group, but all the way from the other functions, all the way from our
and company. I like the idea that you're sort of gathering around the customers and tuning in, asking customers and collaborating with them as a whole team.
And
it's
then
not
make one
decisions.
people, it's a team of members. And I had here some good cases what we have done to understand better our customer needs, to focus and prioritize our development, and also to give a clear message that we are investing and changing, and also actually for the advertisement, as you were saying, also earlier in this. So some concrete examples. One actually, I think this was one of the first ones in May this year. We have been doing a very big project about our website concepts. We have a quite old system which is running on Magento in Kauppahalli 24. This year actually we launched also luomuntarina.fi online store for these other products that are very bio products, if you can say,
like the organic
products. And we have a Finland, the best assortment in Finland with these organic products, more than 1,000 products in this store. With that, it's a new concept. It's a new also. It's not working in Magento. It's operating in other system which is coming up soon for other our stores also. And we have been also. This was a way of also to understand that how our customer is behaving, where they are focusing on when they are coming to an online store. It could be any online store, but it was an easy way to find out that what are the hotspots, for example.
I think the exercise was something along the lines that how would you start your shopping journey? And then we were showing a few mock-ups or different screenshots. Yes.
How you navigate, and we really used it as a base for new store concept.
Yeah, and it was quite interesting to see from the data that there were quite sort of different behavioral patterns. So depending on the customer preferences, if you're an existing customer, you like to start in a certain way, whereas the new customers, they are drawn to other areas of the website. And also there are some differences. Some people are drawn to price promotions and these sort of things. So they like to start their shopping from discounted products and so on. So there's quite a lot of to take into when you are designing.
And this, of course, is a simple picture, but behind this there was quite a lot of data, and there was also discussion, deeper understanding from our customers that why we are saying this and that and so on. And also, Lean Lab gave us a tool to make a dialogue with the customer, for example, with this one. One of the last one was a big. We started a big project for us as a small growth company. Our marketing strategy. We learned that we need to brighten our marketing strategy and started that work in summer. All the way go through that what is our key promise to our customer, what are the key messages to our customers. Also, of course, understanding that this competition in Finnish grocery e-com, it's not coming weaker or easier. It's going
to be tougher. Yes.
So of course that why also, and we for example we find out that we need to renew our slogan, marketing slogan, and with that of course plenty of other things, and our key messages, and we really gave to our developers team, developers team, a possibility to decide what is our new slogan. We asked them, we give them 4 different choices, and they choose the number 3, as you can see here in the picture, and then we go through, and they of course tell a lot of why they choose that and why somebody others were choosing number 4 or number 2 and so on, and then we go through that with our management team and made a decision. Okay, when you are thinking about marketing slogan, you have plenty of ideas, plenty of this is better than this is, of course, but there we have the big customer data. Customers, our key customers are saying this, so we made a decision that this is the way. They have chosen the number 3, over 46% like that this is the best to you.
Were there any surprises, like for example, did the management or the leadership team vouch for concept A, and then the customers actually chose the concept C, or were there any such surprises
we didn't
along the way?
Before we gave it to the customers.
You didn't have any darlings?
We didn't have a preliminary voting. No, actually, we went through all the results and really made a big discussion. Okay, that is this the one? And of course there was like there should be another opinions that no, this is too long or and so on and so on. But then we decided that no, this is something that our customers have said. Let's do it, and that's the way we did that actually. Of course, many other things have already done now with the Lean Lab. For example, studying about our product range. It's ongoing work. How to develop our product range, what new products you should bring, and so on. So of course that was also a good point. Also, one thing I want to share with you is that sustainability. We are a quite sustainable company actually, but have not been quite good to tell it to our customers and to market. But we are now focusing more and more, and also with this, our big sustainable project. We don't have that much project anymore, but sustainable is a big project for us. And we also asked Teo that how do you see sustainability? Because it's a so huge word. Customers, us, our owners, other groups, they have plenty of ideas that, well, sustainability for me it's this one, and to you it's that one, and so on. Let's again ask from the customers that what's the sustainability is.
It's probably
focus.
Yeah, it's probably, if I think about the clients and the projects that I've been involved in the last 2-3 years, it's been probably among the top 3 requests, and we've seen a lot of our customers that are running their own customer labs have been collaborating in similar fashion as you guys with the sustainability and social responsibility, and sort of injecting more meaningfulness into the brand and making sure that it stays future proofed and it's there for the next generation.
Yeah, and it is something that also customer demands.
Absolutely.
In the consumer side, but also in the company side also, that you need to have these certain things in order to work it out.
Very true. Thanks for sharing everything so far. You were kind of sharing the pain earlier in your presentation, like what was the starting situation, and now you had the Lean Lab. You started the Lean Lab. How does it feel working with customer labs and having the customers that close? What was the sort of aha moment when you realized that actually customer labs is the way forward for you guys?
I'm not sure if I should stress so much what I was thinking, but yeah, for me with my background, it was like easy to sell. Let's use customer lab as a fast lane to make the development more focused, more efficient with the customers, with joint development, with the dialogue. But of course, also it was great to me to see that also others in our management teams, in our other teams, also in our owners, see that yes, customer is that what we need to listen. We need to focus on customer data, customer insight more, also to steer our working habits and operations. And maybe the big aha moment was after few first tasks, when we really see that actually customers are taking part quite actively. We have had already some examples in the history, like our survey in 2020 and so on, that our customers are actively joining and want to be the part of our story. That was, of course, one big thing also to us. But of course, it was again that Lean Lab was still a new thing. We had a load of things in our table. Of course, it was again that where could we have a time for this one then? But luckily, I'm happy to say that after few first tasks, we really see that this is something that where we should
it's
invest
kind
on.
of delivering on the promise, and it's helping you to prioritize, which was the original task.
Yeah, just like that. Well, actually, you said it. What we have get is concrete insight to the top management, but also to our team or teams in our company.
Right. Yeah.
So again, I need to stress that it's not only for us in the top management, but it's also a daily tool for our company workers. Of course, in a top management, it's we have now a way to focus and guide out more our planning, when we can always let's ask from our customers.
Yeah.
And kauppahalli 24 kehittäjät. And discuss with them, but also we get fast help to decision making, like with the marketing slogan. Should we do what was that? 2 months
2 month study. Yeah.
Or should we make a 2 weeks discussion?
Yeah.
Well, we choose that 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Discussion with our Lean Lab members, and it worked.
That's what a lot of customers that I'm working with are saying with their customer labs, is that it's kind of introducing a totally new area of customer collaboration that hasn't been there, because you haven't had the tools and the methods to engage customers so quickly, and it's now kind of lowering the barrier to ask from customers and invite them into that process.
Well, one thing I have not maybe mentioned at all is actually that what we also see was that Lean Lab and Kauppahalli 24 developers team is really a way also to commit our customers. Of course, it's a way of commit also our team members, but it's a way to commit our customers more to our story, more to our development, and because they like it, so why not use it? And they have been quite actively. Also, of course, it was a good moment. I think it was in June when I was telling the first news from our developers team in our board, where they have a long history of retailing. We have quite a good situation with that I have so good board with the long experience from grocery retailing, also other retailing and so on. So it of course helps us, and so it was they took it very well when I said that okay, this is it, this is how it looks like, these are the first results, what do you like? Well, it was great to see that they also liked.
And it's also great to hear that you're bringing customer collaboration and insights to the board as well. So board is aware of the collaboration.
Also with our partners, if you're thinking about our suppliers, we have about 150 suppliers, quite a big assortment, and also they have been quite interested. Is this some kind of tool where we can maybe collaborate,
test their services,
or something like that? Yes, exactly. Sure. In the future, this phase we have been now working about 7-8 months, for us also to learn and to see everything what I can do, and then to go on with the partners also. But a good phase. So the big thing, of course, was that like I have said, we had a too long list things to develop. With this tool, with our developers team and with Lean Lab, we found out a way to have the fast lane to deeper understanding without making the tens of studies and paying a lot of money also. Of course, we are paying for you also, but it's another thing. But not that much. And also to have our customers really jointly discussing and studying with us. And of course, it demands from us that we also commit and we also answer to our customers' questions, for example, in our tool. But we really see that this is the way, like to cook our soup in a grocery e-com, have the faster lane, have the concrete help to our daily work. Because it's, of course, when you are working with the new kind of business, which grocery e-com still is, so it's always good to have a
there's a lot of question marks in the air. A lot of questions.
Customer to also to say that, well, maybe you should focus on this one. So, but also what we have made is that understand after these 7-8 months that there's a lot more to do. We can, for example, also to use Lean Lab and our Kauppahalli 24 kehittäjät insight hub, and that's one thing that where we want to focus more also in the future.
Let's see what the future holds.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Petri, going through your case.
Thank you.
What I like to do now with you guys is briefly go through how can you set your own customer lab and how you can get going, and share some examples what you can actually do with customer labs. After that, let's go to your tips and advice for anyone that is looking to do a similar thing as you've done.
Yeah.
And then finally we'll do a quick Q&A if there are any questions. I don't see any questions on the Q&A box at the moment, so if you have any questions, feel free to drop them so we can address them later on in our presentation. But how do you actually then build a customer lab with our product Lean Lab? Essentially, there are like 3 steps to get things going. So it's a fairly straightforward. Of course, first you need to make that decision, as Petri and your team has done, to sort of understand that this is a lab that you need. You need to have that ongoing dialogue with your customers to prioritize your services, to better develop their services and have better outcomes. But once that decision is done, then essentially there are 3 steps to take. So first one is the setup. So setup means not just the technical setup of getting your lab environment out there and branding it for you and so on, but it's also to do with planning ahead in terms of how might the next 3 months look for you, or the next 6 months down the line. Where do you start? Do you start with maybe digital development first, or then you maybe start with the customer experience, or do you actually have a new product launch or an innovation coming up that you like to start with? So figure out that plan during the setup so that you have a set plan for the next few months once you get going. The second phase, where we often get a lot of questions, is how do you then recruit people? How do you get your customers on board for your own private customer lab? As Petri, you said, it's fairly straightforward. You just let customers know, you invite them with open arms and ask them to come and help us, and customers come. There actually hasn't been any customer lab that we built over the years that have failed because customers weren't interested. It works equally for as we've seen in the banking and insurance world, and it works for the fast-moving online shopping business. You can use the CRM lists and your social media, essentially your earned media, to recruit the relevant customers. Just be picky in terms of who you recruit and make sure that they are relevant customers for the development needs. And of course, that's part of the recruitment phase, to figure out that there is enough representativity in the customer base that you are then collaborating with. Once you begin to have customers on board, then we run a training session, which is usually a half-a-day training, where we train your colleagues and staff members to start using Lean Lab. We go through different scenarios, how you set up a discussion, how you engage the members to share photos or keep a diary, like an online shopping diary. Or we can ask people to go and look at competitor websites, for example, and then take screenshots and share them directly with you on the platform. So that's a training that we go through. And of course, beyond training, there is the customer success, our customer success team, and support for the customer lab customers. And beyond that, it's all about doing. Start doing. And I think the word or the emphasis is definitely on do. I think a lot of companies spend too much time on thinking and not actually making decisions. But with the customer lab, it's actually quite straightforward to set up and get going. And then if it's a miserable failure and it doesn't really work, you are not in the maturity level, you can always ramp that down if it's not for you. But I would always suggest our customers to start experimenting and follow that kind of lean culture. once you have the platform, then these are all the sort of goodies that you can then start doing. So, for example, if you're working in the digital team, you can look at features. You can embed your prototypes, different screenshots, layouts. You can get feedback on those. You can ask people to go to look at competing websites, talk about what makes a good website, and so on. So there's a huge number of ways you can use the Lean Lab for digital development. Whereas if you're working in the customer experience, then you'll be probably interested in the customer journey overall and different journey points and different journey moments. So you can then look at how people are experiencing the onboarding part. How do they become aware of your services? What about the first experience when they land on your website, in case you're marketing your services on the website? How does that experience feel like? Then going beyond the onboarding and the first experiences, how does it feel to receive your first bill statement or newsletter? You can test all of those moments on Lean Lab together with customers. A little bit about the customer collaboration platform itself. Besides the great activities, Lean Lab comes with a lot of different good features that you can use to engage your customers with. So we have what we call quantitative activities. So we have like surveys, heat maps, and all these sort of tools where we collect quantitative information. So essentially helping to make binary decisions. But besides the quantitative activities, we have more like ethnographic and qualitative activities, which are kind of softer ways of engaging your customers. So it's maybe running a discussion forum, it's maybe doing a diary, it's maybe asking people to share photos of their experiences with other members and so on. And when you combine all of these, it becomes a real kind of a hothouse for customer collaboration and insights. And usually our customers combine these different methodologies that you start with, maybe with a survey, and then you follow up with a qualitative discussion group, or you start with qualitative discussion or a diary, and then you try to validate your findings with a quant activity a little bit later. So it's all about having all these tools in one platform. And a little bit about the admin dashboard. So the whole experience running yourself the customer lab is very straightforward. You can choose, would you like to set up a forum or image gallery, and then follow a very simple flow. It has like 3-4 steps, and then you're ready. So setting up an activity and launching it to your customers is very straightforward. It usually just takes minutes. Of course, what you need to factor in is the planning, and then if you're running a qualitative activity, you need to be moderating, chipping in and seeing what customers are saying and participating in that dialogue, of course. And then, of course, you need to spend a little bit of time on the analysis. Lean Lab comes with a online reporting dashboard. So there's a lot of ready-made sort of reports that you can extract, look at different groups, compare different stats and so on. That will sort of speed up the analysis. But overall, it's very straightforward. It's with everyone's reach. It's for startups, it's for scale-ups, it's for larger businesses. Literally anyone that is interested in engaging and talking to customers or stakeholders on a regular basis. So I would urge everyone to, start working with customers, whether you choose Lean Lab or whether you choose another methodology, but start experimenting, start building your own customer labs, because that's a fantastic way, as Petri explained, for example, to prioritize your development list and understand where you should be making decisions and where you should be focusing on. And I'll be happy to help anybody on the stream, so just feel free to ping me an email, and I'll be happy to provide a free consultancy to look at your situation, your needs. We can discuss what's the best way to recruit, what's the best way to kind of set up and manage and run with your own private customer lab. Right. Let's go to the semi-final section before the Q&A. So let's look at the tips that you prepared for us. So, imagine there's somebody wanting to start with a customer lab activity. What are your kind of learnings and tips and advice for someone that is looking to do a customer lab?
Yeah, thanks again. It has been an interesting journey from the beginning of this year to find out that customer lab is something what we need, and then of course having some discussions that what is the tool? Like I said, there has been quite a lot in our development path, a lot of things. This actually was the thing that we made faster than we were expecting.
Yeah.
Some other things are getting a longer time than we were expecting, but this is the life. Like we really see after this 8 months experience is that make it big. Really take your people and say that it's we cannot afford it not to do it. So there is a must. It always helps, and for us, for example, it was a big must that something needs to be done. The big thing is again the team. If you're thinking about our case, we really build up a multifunctional team where we commit management and our staff, all our team members, and also made this a real tool for them. That this is not something that we decide that let's now study this thing and then this thing. No, this is a thing that where you can bring up your ideas. Let's test them and study with the customers.
Yeah, and I think you kind of need that commitment because it's about an ongoing process. You're trying to infuse something new. That is your customers into the process, and it can't be a project based sort of let's do it once. No, it needs to be part of your culture, the part of your process, how you build services.
That's the way I see it also.
Yeah.
Of course, one big thing was for us, for example, we have quite a good thrilling story. You should have quite a good thrilling story for your customers, why they should think that, I really want to be in this one. Yeah, this is where I want to join.
Yeah, and then talking about the sharing the story, I think a lot of our customers that I'm seeing, they are also making this story so that it's not only communicated to the customers that they are actively working with customers and improving services, but it's also communicated to staff via intranet and internal newsletters, and then beyond that, it may be communicated to share owners and annual reports and so on. So you can use the story to kind of share that with all stakeholders in your business, not just with customers.
And we have used them actually.
Yes.
For example, with our board.
Yes.
So of course, used good data also for them and also the basis for what I'm presenting to them. Yeah. Why should we do it? Because our customers say it.
Yeah.
Also, one thing is that be active. You really need to have a monthly plan, but also to be active in the middle of that with the customers, getting the dialogue with them, not only asking that, what do you think, but also telling them that, what with your insight, what we got from you, they made this kind of discussion. For example, this marketing slogan was a good example of this. But of course, again, please don't be too active. Then you will stress up too much the customers, and they will say that no, this takes too much of my time.
And then there's also a risk if you start asking every single question from your customers, then you might have sort of paralysis by analysis sort of syndrome, which means that the actual progress with your development begins to slow because you're too scared to make the next move. What you should think instead is is think, okay, I know I'm kind of learning every week. I'm learning from my customers, and every now and then I can make decisions on my customer behalf because I have this accumulated understanding on how they might react.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of worth bearing in mind that not every single crack in the line needs to be asked from customers, but kind of getting the ideas, the visions, and the basic understanding. Those are hugely important areas.
Yeah. But of course, you need to remember that nothing happens in a day, even in grocery e-com, which is a quite fast business. And we have been in a fast lane. We have reached it, but of course, this is still a joint learning curve with our customers, with our team members.
Yeah,
we are just in the way.
And it must have been a steep learning curve in the past 7 months because it's a new way of working.
Really steep.
Yeah.
But it was something that what we needed, and now we are coming up to that we have a much more focused operation plan, for example, what we have made together with our customers.
Thank you, Petri, sharing those tips with us. I think particularly being bold and going big, that particularly appealed to me.
We are a growth company. You cannot be too shy.
Because then in that way you are shaking the foundations and making everyone aware that in order to get there, we need to up our game and we need to make some changes in the way we are developing our services and how we're connecting with our customers. So that was essentially it. I think we covered most of the discussion points today. I see no questions in the Q&A box, so we don't need to go into the Q&A. I think all is left to say is thank you for everyone's time. Thank you for your time, Petri, today.
Thank you.
It's been a great session. It's been great learning from you and your story, how you started collaborating with customers, and I wish all the best for the next year. And thanks everyone on the stream attending today. Wishing you all the best, and can I say Merry Christmas? We're that close.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.